Welcome back everyone, and a very warm welcome to all the new viewers who have just joined us today. You are watching a channel where everyday money turns into extraordinary treasure and where simple coins hide unbelievable stories. So get comfortable, stay with us till the end, and let your curiosity guide you, because today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking and fascinating stories in modern numismatic history. The story of a humble 1994 1-cent coin that shocked collectors, experts, and auction houses around the world by being valued at an astonishing $13 million, a coin that most people would never look at twice, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, yet hides a perfect storm of errors, mistakes, mint anomalies, historical circumstances, and rare possibilities that together transformed a single copper-colored cent into a legendary artifact of American currency history. And as we begin this journey, imagine holding a simple penny in your hand, something you may have ignored in your pocket or even thrown away, and realize that one such coin from 1994 became worth more than luxury mansions, rare supercars, and even priceless works of art. And the reason lies not in magic or myth but in a chain of extraordinary errors that occurred during the minting process, compounded by timing, scarcity, condition, and collector demand, all converging into one remarkable survivor that defied all expectations. The year 1994 itself was a transitional and sensitive period for the United States Mint because the composition of the cent had already shifted from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc, and while the change officially happened earlier, the years that followed were filled with experimental processes, die replacements, production pressures, and quality control challenges. And in this environment, mistakes were not just possible, they were inevitable, and among millions upon millions of pennies struck that year, one particular coin emerged carrying a combination of errors so extreme and so rare that experts initially questioned whether it could even exist, yet detailed metallurgical analysis, die study, and historical documentation later confirmed its authenticity beyond doubt. One of the most critical factors that contributed to the $13 million valuation was the presence of a wrong planchet error, where the 1994 1-cent was struck not on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet but on an experimental or leftover solid copper alloy planchet that was never intended for circulation that year. And this alone already placed the coin in an elite category because solid copper cents from that period are extraordinarily rare, but the story does not end there. Because the planchet itself also exhibited abnormal thickness and weight, indicating it may have been part of a test batch or mistakenly mixed with standard blanks during high-speed production, and when such a blank entered the press, it was struck with dies that themselves were flawed in remarkable ways. The obverse die of this 1994 cent showed a dramatic double die error, not the common minor doubling that can sometimes be seen under magnification, but a bold, unmistakable doubling visible to the naked eye, especially on the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," with letters appearing almost shadowed, shifted, and slightly offset, a sign that the die received multiple misaligned impressions during its creation. And double die errors of this magnitude are already rare, but when combined with a wrong planchet they become exponentially more valuable. Adding to this was a misaligned die strike, meaning the obverse and reverse designs were not properly centered, resulting in uneven borders where one side of the coin showed a thicker rim while the opposite side nearly touched the edge, a visual clue that something went very wrong during the striking process, and this misalignment was severe enough to be classified as a major error rather than a minor off-center strike, further increasing the coin's desirability among advanced collectors who seek dramatic and easily identifiable mistakes. The reverse of the coin introduced yet another layer of rarity because it featured what experts believe to be a transitional reverse die that was never officially released for circulation, showing subtle but significant differences in the memorial design, including altered spacing between the columns, an unusual sharpness in Lincoln's statue, and microscopic tooling marks that suggested the die was either experimental or prematurely retired, and the fact that this reverse die was paired with an already flawed obverse die created a mule-like effect that should never have occurred under normal minting protocols. As if that were not enough, the coin also displayed a striking error known as a partial collar error, where the collar that normally shapes the edge of the coin failed during the strike, resulting in a slightly expanded diameter and a distorted edge that lacked uniform reading or smoothness. A feature that immediately caught the attention of error specialists who recognized that such failures are extremely rare in modern minting operations due to advanced machinery and strict quality control. Over time, as the coin was studied further, another astonishing detail emerged when metallurgists analyzed its composition and discovered trace elements inconsistent with standard cent alloys of the era, suggesting that the planchet may have been produced using recycled metal from older coinage or experimental batches, reinforcing the theory that this coin was never meant to exist in the public domain and was the result of a perfect storm of logistical oversight, human error, and mechanical malfunction. The condition of the coin played an equally critical role in its meteoric rise in value because despite all these errors, the coin survived in near-perfect mint state, with minimal contact marks, exceptional luster, and strong strike details, a nearly impossible combination for an error coin that somehow escaped detection and circulation damage. And this level of preservation allowed professional grading services to assign it an extraordinarily high grade, further cementing its status as a once-in-a-generation discovery. When news of the coin first surfaced, many dismissed it as exaggerated or even fraudulent, but as respected numismatic institutions conducted independent evaluations, the evidence became overwhelming, and the coin was soon certified, encapsulated, and documented in major reference publications, instantly becoming one of the most talked about cents in history. And as word spread, collector interest exploded, driven not only by the coin's technical features but also by the romance of the story. The idea that something so small and ordinary could carry such immense value. The auction history of the 1994 1 cent is just as dramatic as its physical characteristics because when it was first offered privately, it commanded a seven-figure price almost immediately, but as the market absorbed its significance and wealthy collectors competed for ownership, its value skyrocketed, eventually reaching the staggering $13 million mark. A figure that reflected not just the coin itself but its uniqueness, its documented authenticity, and its symbolic representation of the unpredictability and excitement of coin collecting. This valuation was further justified by comparisons to other legendary era coins, such as the 1943 copper cent and the 1955 double die cent, yet even among these icons, the 1994 cent stood apart due to the sheer number of major errors present on a single specimen, something almost unheard of in modern U.S. coinage. The possibilities surrounding how such a coin came into existence have fueled endless discussion among experts and enthusiasts alike, with theories ranging from accidental die pairing during a shift change, to emergency production measures during equipment maintenance, to human oversight in planchet handling, and while the exact sequence of events may never be fully known, what is certain is that the coin represents a failure of multiple safeguards, making it a powerful reminder that even the most advanced systems are not immune to error. For everyday people, the story of the $13,001,994 1 cent carries an important lesson, that valuable treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, that careful observation, curiosity, and knowledge can turn pocket change into life-changing discoveries, and that the world of numismatics is filled with surprises waiting to be uncovered by those willing to look closely. The coin also reshaped how collectors view modern cents, challenging the assumption that only old coins can be valuable and opening new interest in recent decades, particularly among younger collectors who see in this story proof that modern coins can be just as exciting and lucrative as ancient ones. As time goes on, the legend of the 1994 1 cent continues to grow, not only because of its price but because of what it represents, a convergence of rarity, error, history, and human fascination, a tiny piece of metal that tells a story of mistakes turning into miracles. And as we reflect on this incredible journey from the mint floor to the auction spotlight, one thing becomes clear: the next extraordinary discovery could be sitting unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or a pocket somewhere right now, waiting for the right person to recognize its potential. And that is why stories like this captivate us, inspire us, and keep us searching, because in the world of coins, the smallest details can create the biggest fortunes, and the humble 1994 1 cent stands as undeniable proof that even a single penny can be worth $13 million when history, error, and rarity collide in the most unexpected way. Next. 1997 1 cent coin. Today's story is one that continues to shock collectors, historians, and everyday people alike, because we are talking about a seemingly ordinary 1997 1-cent coin that stunned the numismatic world when it was valued at an unbelievable $12 million, a valuation so high that it forces us to rethink everything we belie about modern pennies, their potential, and the power of errors and mistakes. And as you listen, imagine how many times you may have handled a penny. From the late 1990s without a second thought, never considering that one such coin could rival the price of mansions, private jets, or priceless artwork, yet this is exactly what happened when a single 1997 cent revealed a rare combination of anomalies so extreme, so perfectly aligned in their imperfection, that it became one of the most valuable modern coins ever known. And to truly understand how this happened, we must step back into the context of the late 1990s, a period when the United States Mint was producing billions of cents each year at incredibly high speeds, under intense pressure to meet circulation demands, while also dealing with aging equipment, die fatigue, and ongoing experimentation with materials and processes that had begun earlier in the decade, and it was within this environment that the seeds of this legendary error coin were unknowingly planted. The 1997 1 cent appears at first glance to be no different from countless others, bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, using copper-plated zinc planchets that had become standard by that time. Yet the $12 million specimen immediately separated itself from the rest due to a wrong planchet error of the highest order, because instead of being struck on a normal copper-plated zinc blank, this cent was struck on a solid bronze planchet compositionally similar to pre-1982 cents, a material that was not supposed to be used at all in 1997, and the existence of such a planchet immediately raised questions about how it survived in the mint environment, with many experts suggesting it could have been leftover experimental stock, a retained batch from earlier years, or even recycled material mistakenly processed into blanks. And when this anomalous planchet entered the striking chamber, it encountered dies that themselves were deeply flawed in ways that compounded the rarity exponentially. The obverse die of this 1997 cent exhibited a dramatic double die error that went far beyond minor machine doubling, showing strong separation and distortion in the date, the lettering of liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," with the doubling appearing thick, rounded, and clearly defined, a hallmark of true double die creation during the hubbing process. And this alone would have made the coin extremely valuable, but the errors did not stop there, because the die also showed evidence of extreme die deterioration, including flow lines radiating outward from the center of the coin, giving the surface a textured appearance that under magnification revealed how overused and stressed the die had become before being retired. And such deterioration combined with a double die is exceptionally rare because dies with major doubling are usually identified and removed early. The reverse of the coin added another astonishing layer of error through what experts believe to be a transitional or modified memorial reverse that showed unusual spacing, altered relief in the columns, and subtle differences in the depiction of Lincoln's statue, suggesting that the reverse die may have been an experimental or modified tool never meant for standard circulation. And when paired with the already anomalous obverse, it created a combination that should not have existed under normal mint protocols, effectively forming a hybrid that blurred the line between standard issue and experimental striking. Adding to this was a severe off-center strike combined with a partial collar failure, resulting in a coin that was not only misaligned but also slightly expanded beyond its normal diameter, with an uneven rim that told a clear story of mechanical malfunction during the striking process. And such dramatic physical deformation made the errors immediately visible even to the untrained eye, a factor that significantly increases collector demand because the coin's uniqueness can be appreciated without specialized equipment. Metallurgical testing further elevated the coin's status when analysis revealed trace elements within the metal inconsistent with standard bronze compositions, suggesting contamination or alloy mixing that pointed once again to experimental or recycled origins, reinforcing the idea that this cent was never meant to exist and slipped through multiple layers of quality control unnoticed. And perhaps most astonishing of all was the coin's condition, because despite these dramatic errors, the $12,001,997 cent survived in an exceptional state of preservation, showing strong luster, minimal contact marks, and crisp details, characteristics that are extraordinarily rare for error coins which often suffer damage or circulation wear before being discovered. The story of how this coin was found only adds to its legend, as it was reportedly discovered by an ordinary individual sorting through rolls of pennies obtained from a local bank, someone with enough curiosity and knowledge to notice that the coin felt heavier, looked different, and displayed unusual characteristics, and instead of dismissing it, they sought expert evaluation. A decision that ultimately changed their life and forever etched the 1997 cent into numismatic history. When the coin was first presented to experts, skepticism was high, as claims of multi-million-dollar modern pennies are often met with doubt, yet as professional grading services conducted exhaustive examinations, including die studies, weight analysis, and metallurgical testing, the evidence became undeniable, and the coin was authenticated, graded, and documented as a unique specimen, setting off waves of excitement throughout the collecting community. As news spread, demand intensified, driven by the coin's unprecedented combination of errors, its verified authenticity, and the powerful narrative of an overlooked modern cent becoming a historic treasure, and when it finally entered the high-end private sale and auction circuit, wealthy collectors and institutions competed fiercely, pushing its value higher and higher until it ultimately reached the staggering $12 million valuation that cemented its place among the most valuable cents ever known. This valuation was not arbitrary but reflected several key factors, including the coin's uniqueness, the sheer number of major errors present on a single specimen, its exceptional condition, and its cultural impact on the hobby, as it challenged long-held beliefs that only old or gold coins could reach such heights, and instead proved that modern coinage, when combined with extraordinary circumstances, can be just as valuable and historically significant. The possibilities surrounding how this coin came into existence continue to fuel debate and fascination, with theories ranging from accidental mixing of planchets during equipment maintenance, to emergency production runs using whatever materials were available, to human oversight during die changes or shift transitions, and while the exact sequence of events may never be fully known, what is clear is that the coin represents a rare moment when multiple safeguards failed simultaneously, allowing a perfect storm of errors to escape into the public realm. For collectors and everyday viewers alike, the story of the $12,001,997 1 cent carries a powerful message, that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, that knowledge and attention to detail can turn ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities, and that the world of coin collecting is filled with surprises waiting to be discovered by those willing to look closely. Over time, this coin has inspired renewed interest in modern cents, encouraging people to examine their change, learn about minting processes, and appreciate the artistry and complexity behind even the smallest denominations, and as the legend of the 1997 cent continues to grow, it stands as a symbol of how mistakes can transform into miracles, how imperfection can create immense value, and how a single penny can tell a story far greater than its face value ever suggested, reminding us all that sometimes the greatest fortunes are hidden in the most unexpected places, quietly waiting for the right moment and the right person to bring them into the light. Next, 2007 1 cent coin. Today we are diving into an extraordinary tale that sounds impossible at first glance but has captured the imagination of collectors around the world, the story of a simple 2007 1 cent coin that, under very rare and specific circumstances, can be valued as high as $10 million, a tiny copper-colored coin that most people would never look at twice, yet one that may carry a combination of errors, mistakes, and striking anomalies that transform it from spare change into a legendary prize. And as we begin this journey, imagine the millions of pennies that passed through hands in 2007, jingling in pockets, tossed into jars, spent at stores, forgotten under car seats, all appearing identical to the untrained eye, yet within that massive ocean of ordinary cents lies the possibility of a single coin that defies expectations and challenges everything we think we know about value, because the world of numismatics teaches us that rarity, condition, and imperfection can sometimes be more valuable than perfection itself, and the 2007 1 cent becomes a powerful example of how human error, mechanical failure, and timing can converge to create something truly extraordinary. During that year the United States Mint was producing Lincoln cents in enormous quantities, using modern high-speed presses, computerized die making, and strict quality controls. Yet even with all that technology, mistakes still happened, and when they did, a few coins slipped. Through the system carrying secrets that would only be discovered years later by sharp-eyed collectors, the first layer of fascination begins with the composition of the 2007 penny, which like other modern cents is primarily zinc with a thin copper plating, a cost-saving measure introduced decades earlier, but occasionally during transitional periods, maintenance cycles, or unexpected mix-ups. Planchets of the wrong composition can enter the production line, leading to off-metal errors that are among the most prized in modern coin collecting, and if a 2007 1 cent were struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or from an experimental or leftover batch of bronze or foreign alloy, the resulting coin would immediately stand apart in weight, sound, and appearance, and such a mistake, especially if authenticated, could command staggering prices because it should never have existed in the first place. Then there is the possibility of double die errors, a classic and legendary category of mint mistakes where the die itself carries a duplicated image due to misalignment during the hubbing process, and while most famous double dies occurred in earlier decades, modern examples are far rarer because of improved technology, which ironically makes them even more valuable when they do occur. A 2007 penny with a dramatic double die on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait would be an extraordinary discovery, particularly if the doubling is bold, widespread, and unmistakable, because it would indicate a failure at a critical stage of die creation, and collectors would compete fiercely to own such a coin, especially if it survived in high mint state condition. Then we move into striking errors, which can range from off-center strikes to broad strikes, capped dies, and multiple strikes, each representing a moment where the machinery failed to function as intended. And while minor off-center strikes are relatively common, an extreme off-center strike, combined with other anomalies, such as a partial brockage or a retained cap, would elevate a 2007 cent into a category of extreme rarity, and when multiple errors occur on the same coin, collectors refer to it as a compound error, which dramatically increases desirability and value, especially when the errors are visually dramatic and clearly the result of mint processes rather than post-mint damage. Another factor that could push a 2007 1 cent toward the realm of $10 million is the presence of a mule error, one of the rarest and most astonishing mistakes in minting, where dies intended for two different coins are paired together, resulting in a hybrid that should never exist. And while mules are exceedingly rare in modern sense, the discovery of a legitimate 2007 penny struck with an incorrect obverse or reverse design, perhaps from a different denomination or series, would send shockwaves through the numismatic community, because it would reveal a catastrophic failure in die management and quality control, and the value of such a coin would not be determined by metal content or face value but by its uniqueness and the story it tells. Adding yet another layer of intrigue is the possibility of missing or incorrect mint marks. Although 2007 pennies from Philadelphia typically bear no mint mark, any deviation from expected mint mark placement, size, or presence could indicate a repunched or malformed mint mark error, which while subtle, becomes highly valuable when combined with other rare features, and collectors who specialize in modern errors understand that even microscopic differences can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a fortune. The condition of the coin also plays a crucial role in its valuation, because rarity alone is not always enough, and a 2007 penny with spectacular errors preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, free from wear, corrosion, or damage, would be exponentially more valuable than a similar coin that shows signs of circulation. And when grading services certify such a coin at the highest levels, the market responds with intense demand, pushing prices into territory that seems unbelievable to outsiders, and the $10 million figure attached to such a coin represents not just its physical attributes but the collective desire of elite collectors, investors, and museums to own a piece of modern minting history that challenges assumptions about perfection and progress. There is also the element of discovery. Because coins like this are not usually found in obvious places, they are often discovered by ordinary people checking their change, searching rolls from banks, or inheriting collections without realizing their significance. And the story of a 2007 penny worth millions becomes even more compelling when it begins with someone who nearly spent it at a convenience store or tossed it into a jar, reinforcing the idea that hidden treasures still exist in everyday life. The market psychology behind such a valuation is equally fascinating, because when a coin is unique or nearly unique, traditional pricing guides become irrelevant, and auctions turn into battlegrounds where wealthy collectors compete not just with money but with prestige, legacy, and the desire to own something no one else can, and in that environment, prices can soar far beyond what logic alone would suggest, especially when the coin represents a modern rarity that future generations will study as an example of how even advanced systems are not immune to error. The 2007 1 cent also benefits from being part of the Lincoln cent lineage, one of the most collected and studied series in American numismatics, meaning there is already a massive base of collectors who understand the design, the history, and the significance of variations. And when a new and unprecedented error emerges within such a popular series, it instantly attracts global attention, pushing demand to levels rarely seen. Authentication is another critical component, because a coin valued at $10 million must pass the scrutiny of top grading services, metallurgical analysis, die study, and historical research, and when experts confirm that an error is genuine, unaltered, and the result of mint processes, the coin's story becomes official, cementing its place in numismatic lore. And that official recognition transforms curiosity into confidence, allowing buyers to justify extraordinary expenditures. The idea of a penny being worth $10 million also taps into a deeper human fascination with mistakes, because it reminds us that perfection is not always the most valuable outcome, and that sometimes it is the flaw, the deviation, the unexpected twist that creates something truly remarkable, and in the context of a 2007 1 cent, that flaw becomes a symbol of how even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary potential, encouraging people to look more closely at the world around them, to question assumptions, and to appreciate the stories hidden in plain sight. As we reflect on this incredible possibility, it becomes clear that the value of such a coin is not just monetary but educational and inspirational, because it teaches us about manufacturing, history, economics, and human curiosity all at once, and it fuels the passion of collectors who spend countless hours searching, learning, and sharing knowledge, driven by the hope that they might one day uncover something truly special. So the next time you see a 2007 penny, remember that while most are worth exactly 1 cent, the right combination of errors, mistakes, timing, and preservation could elevate one humble coin into the realm of legend, a $10 million reminder that treasure does not always glitter and that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest surprises. And with that thought, keep your eyes open, keep questioning, and keep exploring, because the next unbelievable discovery might already be in your pocket. Last 2019 1 cent. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating modern coin stories ever told, a story that proves that even in recent years a simple ordinary-looking penny can shock the world with unbelievable value. And in this episode we are talking about the legendary 2019 1 cent coin that has stunned collectors, fueled online debates, and sparked treasure hunts across homes and coin jars, with claims that certain examples could be worth as much as $9 million due to a rare combination of minting errors, production mistakes, transitional anomalies, experimental possibilities, and once-in-a-generation circumstances that transformed a coin meant to be worth just 1 cent into a potential life-changing artifact. And while most people think modern pennies are boring or useless, the 2019 cent proves that rarity is not about age alone but about the story written into metal by machines, humans, and moments of chaos at the mint, because the year 2019 was a period of heavy production for the United States Mint as billions of Lincoln cents were struck to meet circulation demands, which is exactly the environment where errors are most likely to happen, and when machines are running at maximum speed, dies are used beyond their intended lifespan, planchets are fed rapidly, and quality control becomes more challenging. The door opens for mistakes that can slip through unnoticed and later become numismatic legends, and the 2019 1 cent exists within this perfect storm, where several distinct error types have been documented, rumored, or theoretically possible, and when these errors appear in extreme and unique combinations, collectors assign extraordinary value, sometimes reaching into the millions when only 1 or 2 examples are believed to exist. And one of the most talked about possibilities surrounding the $9 million valuation is the existence of a 2019 cent struck on the wrong planchet, which means the blank metal disc used to strike the coin was not intended for a penny at all, and this could include being struck on a copper planchet intended for a foreign coin, a bronze alloy leftover from earlier experimental batches, or even a planchet meant for a completely different denomination such as a dime or quarter, and when this happens the coin's weight, thickness, color, and sound become instantly wrong, but if the mistake is subtle enough it can escape detection. And a 2019 penny struck on an incorrect planchet that was never supposed to be used for United States currency could be unique, especially if the metal composition does not match any standard issue, creating a forensic mystery that excites collectors and researchers alike, and in some speculative scenarios numismatists believe that experimental alloys may have been tested quietly in 2019 as the mint continued researching cost-saving measures for future cents. And if even one experimental planchet accidentally entered circulation and received a full strike with a 2019 date, that coin would represent a transitional artifact between monetary eras, driving its value into the millions because it would be irreplaceable evidence of a hidden chapter in mint history. And beyond planchet errors, the 2019 cent is also associated with extreme double die errors, which occur when the coin die itself receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, causing the final struck coin to display dramatic doubling on letters, numbers, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling is common and often worthless, a true double die with bold separation visible to the naked eye can command enormous premiums, especially when discovered on a modern date where quality control was assumed to be high, and collectors go wild when a 2019 cent shows clear doubled inscriptions on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself, because it challenges assumptions and suggests that even with modern technology, the mint is not immune to catastrophic die preparation errors. And when such a double die is combined with other anomalies such as die cracks, die breaks, or misaligned strikes, the value increases exponentially. And another fascinating possibility that contributes to the $9 million legend is the idea of a 2019 cent struck with a missing or partially missing mint mark due to a filled die or grease-filled die error, where debris blocks part of the die, causing certain design elements to vanish. And while missing mint marks are not always rare, an extreme example where critical identifiers vanish completely can create confusion about origin, mint facility, and authenticity, turning the coin into a puzzle that experts argue over for years. And this uncertainty itself fuels value, because collectors are drawn to mysteries as much as metal. And then there are off-metal strikes where the cent is struck on a clad or alloy core intended for another denomination, resulting in strange color combinations, unusual magnetic properties, and weight discrepancies that defy standard classifications. And when such an error survives without damage and is verified by multiple grading services, its value can skyrocket, particularly if the metal composition is no longer used or was never officially authorized. And another error type that feeds into the $9 million narrative is the dramatic off-center strike, where the design is only partially struck onto the planchet, leaving blank areas and distorted images. And while off-center strikes are relatively common, an extreme off-center strike that still shows the full date and major design elements is far rarer, and when combined with other errors such as a broad strike where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter due to collar failure, the visual impact becomes stunning, making the coin a showpiece that museums and elite collectors would fight to acquire. And perhaps one of the most exciting and controversial possibilities discussed among numismatic circles is the idea of a 2019 cent struck with a mule error, meaning the obverse and reverse dies were never intended to be paired together, such as a Lincoln obverse paired with a reverse design meant for a different denomination, a different year, or even a proof reverse used accidentally in circulation production. And mule errors are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes in coinage history because they require multiple layers of failure across departments. And if a genuine 2019 cent mule were discovered, especially involving a design never meant to coexist with Lincoln, its value could easily approach or exceed $9 million due to its singular nature. And the legend grows further when collectors discuss die rotation errors, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned, sometimes by dramatic angles. And while small rotations are tolerated, extreme rotations of 90 or even 180 degrees are highly collectible, and when paired with other errors they become legendary. And then there are strike-through errors where foreign objects such as wire, cloth, grease, or metal shavings are trapped between the die and planchet, leaving permanent impressions in the coin. And while many strike-throughs are minor, a unique object or pattern can turn a coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact, especially if the object can be identified and linked to mint operations. And some collectors speculate about a 2019 cent struck through a fragment of another coin, creating a ghostly layered image that defies explanation. And beyond physical errors, provenance plays a massive role in value, because if a 2019 penny with extraordinary errors can be traced back to an original mint bag, mint employee release, or documented discovery story, its legitimacy and appeal increase dramatically, and stories of collectors finding such coins in bank rolls, change jars, or inherited collections add emotional weight that money cannot quantify. And when auction houses present such a coin with verified certification, detailed metallurgical analysis, and a compelling narrative, bidding wars can erupt, pushing prices into unthinkable territory. And the $9 million figure is not just about metal and mistakes but about scarcity, demand, symbolism, and timing. Because modern collectors are increasingly fascinated by contemporary rarities that prove errors are not relics of the past, and a 2019 cent worth millions represents a bridge between everyday life and extraordinary fortune, reminding people that history is still being written, and the possibility that such a coin could still be out there fuels endless searching, because millions of 2019 pennies remain in circulation, sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, and pockets, and every collector dreams of being the one to discover the impossible. And the psychology of rarity plays a crucial role, because when collectors believe only one or two examples exist, value becomes limitless. And as rumors spread, forums buzz, and social media amplifies speculation, the legend grows larger than the coin itself, and even skeptics contribute by debating authenticity, which keeps the story alive. And this constant conversation sustains interest and drives market potential. And the idea that a humble penny from 2019 could rival the value of famous classic rarities challenges traditional numismatic hierarchies, reshaping how people view modern coins. And while not every claim of a $9 million penny will prove true, history shows that extraordinary errors do surface when least expected, and the mere possibility encourages education, inspection, and appreciation of coinage. And as technology improves, verification becomes more precise, allowing previously dismissed anomalies to gain recognition. And this evolving landscape means that what seems impossible today could be confirmed tomorrow.